Hello. You can hear me? Okay. So I want to thank Pina for giving us this very rich background. And rich is really not the word. It just says how complicated and how overwhelming this type of work is. I thought I would like to start with that. People can get up if they want and just stretch and shake a little bit, because it's something about sitting through this Dory Laub says that when we listen to trauma stories, we become co-owners of them. Our own stories get activated. So just stretch a little bit. And wave. You can wave to me, because I'm all alone up here, and it's nice to be waved at. And take a deep breath. And when you sit down again, really take a deep breath, sit down, and feel that your chair is holding you. So, welcome to this second part of today's lecture. This part is going to focus on, Pina's been talking a lot about refugee camps that are internally, or camps in transition, where we were told that many people are born there, they marry there, they die there. I'm going to tell you about working 30 years in Norway, majorly in Norway. I've also worked in Latin America. I've worked a lot in Nicaragua, and worked with UNICEF there with different projects. But my focus will be on the work I do in refugee camps in Norway, and the training I do with group intervention, which I'm going to present for you, the training about how to do group intervention after people arrive, but with severely traumatized population, as you have just been presented. I worked for 30 years with refugees. I worked at the Psychosocial Center in Norway that was created in 1989. It was a center for torture survivors, where I worked majorly with expressive arts and psychodrama in groups. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why groups. A lot of people say, oh, isn't that too difficult? If you know the theory of Judith Lewis Herman, she says, the most difficult thing to enter, again, after torture and severe violence, human or nature-induced, is to create a contact, to engage with people again, to trust anybody again. So the way back into life, back into a state of surviving. We have this topic, who's going to survive? Who shall survive? From my perspective, surviving is living, but it's enjoying living. It's connecting to other people. It's being safe in the world. So another theory I really put my heart into is Stephen Porges, who says we have to help people out of the flight, the fight, and the freeze. From that position, you cannot find health. The fight, the flight, and the freeze. Now, this is a normal reaction to dangerous situations. Of course it is. And we see from the terrorist experience in Norway, where 67 people died, that being in a freeze position at the state of the traumatic event is probably the most difficult state to survive, because it's a feeling that you didn't do anything. You didn't help the other. And this survivor guilt is also that attaches you to the story that you have to tell again and again and again and again to justify your survival. And this is why it's so important with psychodrama and the arts and filmmaking, because the arts and the theater takes on the story. So the art can continue to tell the story and people can get on with their lives. That's one of the major things I think that is really, really important, is to understand what Stephen Porges calls is that if we don't get back into the body in a place of safety, you cannot go into social communication and social engagement. And that's where the healing takes place, to calm people down, to get back into safety. So how do we get people back into safety? And I think that's where my work goes back for 30 years with working with refugees, is that I found out I couldn't wait for them to come to the clinic. I had to go to the refugee centers, to the reception centers, and help them immediately while they were still in hope, And as we've just been informed, was that the longer people are in these centers, the worse the symptoms get and the more they stick. It's like when they came themselves to the center, they were often in a state of loneliness. And we've heard a lot about fear. We've heard a lot about not trusting. But the loneliness, these people are the pain of the loneliness. It's like one of my clients said to me, if I could tell you how lonely I am, I wouldn't be lonely. And you can see it in their drawings, that they often are birds with no place to land, or like satellites, just no sense of grounding, no sense of connecting even to the earth. And I think that's what has been so important for me with my background. I mean, we all have an informed experience of life that creates us to do what we're doing. And as I was presented, I came to Norway when I was 8 years old. And I did not come there voluntarily. I didn't say I want to go to Norway because I love skiing. I came there because I had a story before where my mother and father divorced when I was 2. He said he was going to the store and he never came back. That's the way they did it in those days. And then he died when I was 5, and I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't know about his death before a year later. And then my mother fell in love on a cruise boat with a ship doctor because her mother wanted to sit at the captain's table. Now that's a really, really good story, huh? Good beginning of the story, but it's almost like a B film. So she comes back to California, where I was used to running around on the beach and being free. And then she says, we're going to Norway. We had never met our father, our new father. I had this image that we were going to meet this John Wayne, and he's going to rescue us, and he's going to have a big black stallion, and we're going to ride off. You know, and we took this airplane, and we stopped in Greenland, and met, for the first time I was seeing snow, and it was pure white. And then we went off, and then we came to the airport, and then this little man came towards us, and I went, oh no, and my sister looked at me, and I looked at her, it can't be him. And it was him. It was this little man, tinier than my mom, with a hat and a pipe, and he had these weird shoes on that were plastic, black plastic. And it's not the big culture differences that creates the problem. It's these small things. It's what is normal for some people is absolutely absurd for others. And Wendy and I we used to look at TV. In Norway, they had 2 programs a day, and the rest of the time there was a clock and there was fishes. It was an aquarium. And we wondered, why are they turning on the aquarium? Why don't they have real fishes? And they also love bathing nude. they were nude, and they said it was wonderful, and they threw their clothes off, and off in the water they went. And we had never seen an adult naked. So, so my intention is that ever since I came to Norway, I was always longing to be another place. And when I was another place, even when I went back home, I was longing to go back to Norway. So I was always wondering, where is home? So that was my burning research question, where is home? So after working 15 years at the Psychosocial Center for Torture Survivors and doing a lot of research with them from a femological point of view, wanting to know their experience of what helped them, what really made a difference. And that's what I'm going to present for you now, because after I did that research, I made a manual and did an evidence-based controlled study and made a manual for youth. It was made for youth, but today we work with children, we work with youth, we work with families, and it's an early intervention. It can be used late, but it was majorly done for people coming right out of a traumatic event. So, with that as my introduction, I'm going to go to, and I know we're running short. You're taking care of my time, right? 5 minutes, you give me the time. Okay. So, so who shall survive? I said I had other theories and other ways of understanding life. Marino, Jacob Levy Marino, he probably was, we talked about heroes. I think we all need heroes. Some of our heroes are not what we think they are, but what we project in them. And it's important to have heroes when you feel that you need help and that there's somebody strong enough to help you. And his theory of spontaneity has been probably the most important theory for me, because he took the focus away from intelligence, the IQ, to the S factor, that action is necessary in life, but his definition of spontaneity was having a new reaction to an old situation or creating something new out of something old. Now, this relates right back to Stephen Porges' way that we have to use all the abilities we have in the moment to take the next step towards creating and playing. So he and Marino have this in common. We have to create safe places where people can play. Playing helps us get back into the present, into the here and now, engage with others, and connect so that we can get back into life. Now, if we make people safe, I mean, I've been part of making a program in Malta called Conflict Transformation, Peace Building, and Global Health. And we think about, we want to make the world a better place. So one of the ways of making the world a better place is helping people to become safe. And in EXIT, Expressive Arts in Transition, which is the group intervention, it's called EXIT. We're going out into something. When we're in camps, we don't know where we're going. We're going out. Maybe people think it's going to be a happily ever after story if you get asylum. Very many people that get asylum are miserable. They weren't expecting how difficult it is to walk in a new culture, to integrate yourself. We talk about, when does the refugee cycle end? My doctorate I did in 2007. I followed for 14 years 5 Bosnian families, from they came to Norway to they went back to Bosnia. And what we saw is that it's very difficult, once you're a refugee, to ever get out of this refugee cycle. So, so I learned a lot that you cannot talk about repatriation. You cannot go home. You're not the same person you were. And the world's not the same. So new patriation, you have to go into a new situation, and that home is actually something you have to find in yourself. You have to find a place of safety in your body, in your home body. And how to move people out of the state of fight and flight and freeze into being calm and safe. And one of the skills of psychodrama is creating structures, creating the frame of the group so that you have a good playground. One of my colleagues, he has the image that you're on the top of very high building, like the Empire State Building, and you want to go all the way to the edge and look down. Now, if there's a frame there, if there's a rail, you can go all the way and look down. If it's not, you're going to cling more to the center. So we have to create these frames to make the playground. And so this is how I'm going to present this. I'm going to tell you about the content of the group intervention, and I'm going to present the research and the results, and that's what we'll have time for. So expressive arts in transition was carried out at a rival center in Norway. You can see this is just matching what you've heard before today, that it's like the waves in California. You have people coming in, and then they go out again, and then they come in again. So we had of unaccompanied minor refugee boys arriving in Norway, and this includes girls, but we only have 20% girls coming to Norway because it's too dangerous. And now we hardly have any boys coming because it's hard to get in and it's also too dangerous. But as you see, in 2008, we had 1,300. It increased in 2009 to 2,500. Then in 2011, only 600 came. And then in 2015, 5,000 unaccompanied minors came. The training we do at the arrival centers and at the reception centers all over Norway is that you're trying to do something that's sustainable, where knowledge doesn't disappear. And that's why we've been trying to develop programs, manuals, so that it's something we can pick up again when the next refugee because as you see, there's going to be always refugees. And there's always going to be movement. And actually in the day, we talk about stayers and movers. And in Norway before, people were more stayers. Today, there's more movers in the world than there's stayers. So people are moving, and we have to be in the state of receiving. Now, in this project, we had boys from Afghanistan and Somalia, and 81% were boys. And they were between 15 and 18 years old. And so the research project had several important aspects. And I want you to know why research is so important. There's very little of it. So when we hear about projects that go on in the world, people want to know, to fund the projects, where is the research? And this type of work creates a lot of engagement, a lot of people are engaged, and a lot of people burn out because they lose their sense of being home in their bodies, and they get too much a co-ownership of the tragedy that they're working with. And we have to be sure as helpers to take care of ourselves, to be able to stay home and keep that light in our eyes so that others that work with us can trust that we have a place to go and nourish our souls. Now, and of course, with working research with refugees is difficult because they're moving all the time. How are you going to do a follow-up study? So it's a very, very challenging, and I don't think without my psychodramatic background, I would have been so creative to find out how to make this work. So it's a longitude study, went over 3 years. It's a mixed method. We have qualitative interviews. we had a screening of how were we going to get, 67% could not read or write. So how are you going to have instruments? So we had all the questions put into computers where they could listen to the questions in their ears, and they could also only use their fingers to answer. So there was a lot of preparement. So the research question, can expressive arts as an early group intervention help stabilize and reduce symptoms of stress and PTSD? I took my master's degree at Lesley University, and when you go to Lesley, you choose a major, and I chose psychodrama. My major teacher at Lesley was Peter Rowan. He was a specialist on working with children. And I was thinking a lot about him in preparing this because I was taught psychodrama both at private institutes with Bob and Ilja Ginn, both from a theater point of view and also from a body point of view, but setting the stage, but also Peter Rowan really helped me to see how to work with children in psychodrama. And all that experience helped me to put together the manual. And also that working with other expressions as drawing, as dancing, but in an intermodal psychodrama, you will use all the senses. You will set the stage. You're working with painting. You're painting a stage. You're looking outside of the window, saying, what's out there in the world? In the world, if you look outside a window, there's a frame and you see a picture. There's trees. You can animate anything. And my grandmother, she used to animate everything in the house. So we had 3 pillows in the house. Their names were Portia, Mary Abby, and Dickie Boy. And if you were mean, you got Dickie Boy because he would hit your head all night. If you were nice, you got Portia. She would love you all night. And if you were just in between, you would get Mary Abby. She also had Winnie the Pooh. She had Bambi. She had, Raggedy Ann and Andy, and at night she set the table for them and said, when you go to sleep, they get up and they drink their tea. So I started with psychodrama as a very young little girl. It doesn't start with going to an institute or going to Lesley University. It starts with understanding how important it is to ensoul your environment and make the world around you and have respect for anything, even if it's a chair, or it's a doll, or it's the nature we're in. It's relating to us, and my grandmother taught me a lot about that. But she was pretty crazy, too. Drama is pretty crazy. So it's that exciting death. It's that exciting death. And she used to say, now we're going to the top of the world. And we were in the car. And then she would suddenly stop and say, you have to find my nitroglycerin or else I'm going to have a heart attack. And then we would find her little pill and put it under her tongue, and off we went to the top of the world. So we love we love stories. And how do we make our stories? How do we change our shit to gold? We have to live with this. And this is part of the research question, and who survives? How can you make your story, make you and your story, a story you would never not have, that is your friend? So this intervention is creating a safe place, starting and ending the group with the same structure every session, expanding the range of play. We don't talk about in expressive arts about the tolerance window and that you're widening this tolerance window so that you can make the world bigger and you can tolerate more people and more excitement. We talk about expanding the range of play. And in psychodrama, we often talk about expanding your inner role repertoire so that you have a great ensemble to meet the world with. Spontaneity training is very important, reducing fear, by informing, and this is very important, informing reactions to traumatic stress, so that the normal reactions that we heard about before from Pina, sleeplessness, not being able to concentrate, having pain in your body, being agitated, that they're normal reactions, and that there's a ways of coping with them. So you give them skills how to cope, and that you don't give them the idea that it's going to go over. They're going to probably have these symptoms the rest of their life, but there's ways you can cope with them so that they don't get in your way as much. So the focus is on resources and to movement mentally and physically, scenarios about the future and future projection, to be present and take responsibility, get out of the victim role, begin to make choices, the choices you can make within the situation you're in, move from protection to social connection in the group, enhance contact, engagement, safety, mastering, and hope. So we put together 5 components of what the research from our participants said was the most helpful. The most helpful was the circle, staying in the circle, not leaving the circle, staying in the circle. Don't couple up. Don't go off 2 and 2. Stay in the circle. To mirror each other, that everybody's leading. So when I went to begin with like this and you all mirror me, you can do it again. We're connecting. And then it goes to, you can get up and you can do a movement. Can you do that, Pina? Just say hello to your group. And then you can do as Pina's doing. Look, you can look at it. They're all doing it. Okay. This mirroring is a method in psychodrama, and it's the most important because everybody's leading in the circle. Everybody's leading. And there's repetition and repetition. And this mirroring is also playing with identity. It's moving out of the freeze. It's moving out of the fight. It's moving out of the fight and the flight. It's connecting. It's me. So it's a form of doubling also. I'm taking your movement into my body, and you're taking my movement. And you're going around and around. And this creates safety. It creates a safe place. And then you move to find a place in nature that you're connected to, in the here and now. So the ones that are coming to my workshop will probably learn how to do this, but it's every one of you can think now of a place in nature you're connected to. Are you connected to the mountains? Are you connected to the sea, the ocean? Are you connected to the woods? Where is a place in nature that you are connected to? And this was something that they could close their eyes. A lot of times they say, oh, it's bombed, it's away, I can't go there anymore, it's gone. And I said, close your eyes. You can go there. And by them finding places of safety in nature where they've been connected and reconnecting to it and finding it again, because often people connect first to nature before to people or to pets. We're talking about, Marsha was talking about a dog that always in the psychodrama room that had this really cool way of licking a person who didn't know she wanted to live, that made a connection that made maybe this person be able to connect to people again. So often going through nature and through the bodies and finding places that can hold you in nature, and you can surrender, you can maybe take the next step to tell another person, I'm on the beach, and do you see the shells when the water goes out? Do you want to run with me and pick one? So you can take people and you can bring them into, what do you smell here? It smells seaweed. What do you see? Oh, I see the waves, and I see diamond on the waves. Oh, and what do you hear? The seagulls. So trauma is on all the senses. And basically, in torture, what they try to do is de-objectify all the good objects to be terrible. So when you see a bathtub, you go right to being tortured. This is all the science. So we have to help the good objects to become good again and to reconquer. So So we have creating a safe place. We have future scenarios. Go 3 years ahead in time and you've never felt so good. What are you doing? Self-care. We have the power animal, and we have goodbye. And then we repeat this, so it's all together 10 sessions. And when they do it, usually after 5 sessions, we're always 10 people, so 5 come in and 5 come out and 5 come in, so everybody's there for 10 sessions. And we hope they get a toolkit to take care and cope with their mental state of mind, to help them cope in a new place, new way of being, because they're in exile from everything that was known, so they have to go into new politics, new ways of being with people, new territory, new nature. So we took instruments for 5 times, 6 weeks, after 4.5 months. We have to find them all over the country. We looked at PTSD symptoms, life satisfaction, and depression and anxiety. We've heard before about the stressful life events. Well, the major ones in this group of 140 were death of a loved one, physical maltreatment, and being in danger. The problem was that they all reported that they were younger than they were, but most people didn't know how old they were. And I want you to be very specific on Afghan boys. It's true. They don't know how old they are. And many people think they're lying, but they're not. They just don't know how old they are. And the test, when they were tested for age, the range was often up to 6 years older. Now, some of these boys got really proud when they got to know that they were not 16, but 22, but when they knew the consequences, that they would be put in an adult arrival center, they knew they were very unlucky. So we had a control group with 70 with life as usual, with normal activities, and then there was 70 who received the exit group intervention 2 times a week for 1.5 hours. And what we tried to do in the scenarios was to get them a different picture of the future, so they would take different choices in the here and now, and that they would have a different view of their past. Now, by working this way, you're reconstructing your view of your past, you're looking at resources, you're reconstructing your view of the present by making choices that help you to move forward, and you're also looking out of the window on your future with a more optimistic view. So after 26 months, we still were able to reach 76 of the 142. And the results are that there was a significant difference in the control group that received activities that were normal in the arrival center. Now, what's interesting here is that you have to all be aware of that we who are clinicians, we know we often get more symptoms before we get better because of numbing, because you don't feel anything, you're cut off. And as Stephen Porges says, you cut off your breath to cut off your circulation, to cut off the contact your inner contact and outer contact. So this is something that Moreno understood, the importance of warm-up. You cannot go into any working through before the body is warmed up and that you have enough spontaneity to look at what you've been through with new eyes and a new perspective. Now, the guys in the first 6 weeks that did life as usual activities, they got less symptoms, while the ones who were in the exit group got more symptoms, as you can see here. But then, after 6 weeks, they all left the arrival center to different reception centers all over Norway. And what you see is that the ones that were in the exit group were able to cope with their symptoms, and the ones that were in the life as usual group, they got more and more symptoms as time went on. And in this, there's a significant difference between the two. It was the same with anxiety and depression, that the exit group were able to cope better than the life as usual group over time, and this is very important. And then what was very important was the whole view of the future, and where the method of future projection, and to be able to have positive images of the future. Life satisfaction, where are you now? They were all asked 5 times, where are you now? In terms of your own idea of good life, a good life. And what is your idea as right now, where are you in terms of your worst life? And on the life satisfaction, you can see that the people in the exit group were much more optimistic the whole time about their future, about where they were going. And we also see that what Stephen Porges said is so important about safety is that when you're safe, you're able to relate to your people around you so that they welcome you, they receive you. Out of a state of fear, you often look angry. You look like you have a bad headache, and people really don't know if it's a bad headache or you angry at me. But the thing is, it's none of them. It's that the person is really scared. You know? And what Stephen Porges also says is that when the heart will also have a more rapid beat, but the heart will affect also the hearing. Your hearing goes down. So often people are accused that they're not listening, but it's because they're so scared that they can't hear. So to get the body back in a safety where they can connect and be optimistic, I think they will have a chance to survive. Thank you.